Wasteland Weaponistics Episode 37, the Solar Cannon. A weapon that was introduced to Fallout's lore with Fallout 4's Creation Club. Now, for some of you who question the canonicity of the Creation Club, Emil Pagliarulo said that the Creation Club is parallel to canon. He never really explained what that means, so I'm just going to take it as it's canon, but it doesn't really matter to the overall lore. Think about the Creation Club like mods made by developers themselves. Like the Josh Sawyer mod for Fallout New Vegas, or loading screens by your mom that a Bethesda dev made for Skyrim for some reason. Anyway, the Solar Cannon Creation Club page reads, "It's win, lose, or draw, and the only one left alive holds the legendary Solar Cannon. Do you have what it takes to claim the prize and stay in the game, or will you fold like all the rest?" The weapon was created by Shoe Burglar, and the quest was done by Chris Takahashi. So, what is the Solar Cannon? Well, it's an extremely large handheld energy weapon that, unlike most other extremely large energy weapons, is not held at the hip nor mounted on the shoulder. It is instead held like a standard rifle. This energy weapon also seems to be one of a kind. It's not a laser weapon, it's not a plasma weapon, it's not even a hologram gun like Father Elijah's holo rifle. So, before we speculate what kind of energy weapon this is, let's learn a bit about the lore of this mysterious energy weapon. Most of the lore comes from loading screens, and the dedicated loading screen says this: the Solar Cannon was a government-contracted weapon developed by Poseidon Energy as a sister project to the Tesla Cannon. Primarily intended to be a crowd control device, the weapon's instability and high radiation emitance resulted in the project being abandoned. This next bit also comes from a loading screen, but just a tip, it doesn't have a dedicated model viewing screen. The Solar Cannon saw some use by the Enclave sometime after the Great War before being replaced by the plasma rifle. The weapon was stripped and its technology put towards Tesla armor research, making the Solar Cannon a rarity in the Wasteland. From both of these loading screens, we learned quite a bit about the Solar Cannon, both its pre-war lore and a bit about its post-war lore. As the first tip says, it was a government contract weapon designed by Poseidon Energy as a sister project to the Tesla Cannon, and was intended as a crowd control device. I think the idea of this being a crowd control device comes from a combination of two real-world crowd control pieces of technology. One being successful, the other not so much. These two are the active denial system. Some of you might have seen these. They're giant satellite dishes usually mounted on a Humvee. And this device projects heat and causes a group of people to feel like they're on fire. It doesn't actually set them on fire, but it can burn you. And there's also this other real-world device, the Personal Halting and Stimulation Response Rifle, or Phaser. A handheld, high-powered, dazzling, ultraviolet laser meant to blind people. Now, if you combine these two real-world riot crowd control devices, and you sort of get the Solar Cannon. I'm guessing that's where they got the idea for the Solar Cannon from, a handheld kind of heat gun. But that doesn't really explain several weird things this weapon does. One, the projectile is extremely strange. It's not a laser weapon, as it does both ballistic and energy damage, like a plasma gun, but the projectile isn't green like all other plasma weapons. The projectile also doesn't act like a plasma projectile. It flies much slower, it makes a weird whistling noise when flying through the air, and it doesn't gooify its targets, it instead fries them to a crisp whenever you get a critical. The projectile it fires is multiple different colors, but mostly it's red and yellow, not like the lime green that plasma guns have. Another very strange thing is that if you're able to hit an enemy, and they don't die instantly from this weapon, they have electricity sparking off of them, as well as being set on fire. So I have a couple guesses, and feel free to add your own on what you think this weapon is. And my first guess is it's a maser weapon. Those of you familiar with the Godzilla universe will know all about the masers, as they are the most common energy weapon fielded against kaiju. First seen in the movie War of the Gargantuas, which is a great movie and everyone should go watch it. Now, masers are real, and they're very related to lasers. See, lasers stands for light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. Maser stands for microwave amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. The solar cannon could be the only maser-based weapon in the Fallout universe. In real life, we do have pulse masers because it's actually very hard to get a maser to work continuously. The solar cannon doesn't fire continuously, so it could be a maser. Another theory I have: the solar cannon could be some type of nuclear energy weapon. It is mentioned in the loading screen tip that it gives off radiation. Sort of like a gamma gun, but more powerful and concentrated into a single mass, but not spread out with a dish. However, the solar cannon doesn't do radiation damage like the gamma gun. It has radiation warnings all over it, yet it doesn't do radiation damage to the enemies or even the player. I'm guessing that's simply just a gameplay thing. And here's a third idea. There's this wrist-mounted device that magicians use to launch fireballs from their hands. It's essentially, this device is an arc lighter combined with a ball launcher that launches flash paper. So what happens if you were to take this little contraption, make it a lot more powerful, make it a lot bigger, and power it with a fusion cell? And have it shoot something that's just as flammable as paper, but a lot more dense, like magnesium. Or a metal that's easily meltable, like zinc. A molten metal ball launcher, basically. That's kind of what this is. It's possible that this thing uses electricity inside of the gun, right? And that would melt the metal down. So that's the sparks you see whenever you hit an enemy and they don't immediately die from it. I mean, we're never given an explanation of how this weapon works and why it's so different compared to every other energy weapon in the series. I think we speculated enough about how this works. Let's talk about how you go about acquiring this weapon. Well, this weapon was added to the game with a creation club, so you get it during a quest. During the quest, you learned about a group of gunners who turned on each other because of some supposed treasure. You acquire the solar cannon in the safe inside of this bus. And if you want a very detailed breakdown of this quest, I'm not the channel for that. There are plenty of other Fallout channels. Now, the solar cannon acquired from the quest is unique, being custom painted with gunner decals and kill tally marks. It has the Exterminator's legendary effect. As it's mentioned in the note, it's basically a giant bug zapper. After you complete this quest, solar cannon seems to be added to the inventory of various vendors, acting as if it has always been in the game. However, it's never added to any enemies' inventories. I don't believe any enemy is seen using this weapon. Now, besides the solar cannon from the questline, there are two other unique named solar cannons: the Outcast and Solar Cannon Mark II. What's funny is, despite these two having unique names, they don't have unique skins. The unnamed one has a unique skin. I don't understand that, but you know, I wasn't the one who made this. And why they have unique names, I have no idea, as both of these are acquired from the same source. You just buy them from the ghoul trader, Daisy, and Goodneighbor. Why Daisy has two unique weapons mentioned to be used by the Enclave, I have no idea. Is she an Enclave spy? No, the Creation Club content makers just love to dump uniques into their inventory for some reason, as several other Creation Club plugins do this as well. The Solar Cannon Mark II, despite being called Mark II, is the same weapon. It does have the Mutant Slayer's legendary effect, so it does more damage to super mutants. So, the Mark II of this weapon is meant to be an anti-super mutant gun? Who made it? The one loading screen does mention that the Enclave used this weapon, however they were later scrapped, so maybe they made it to deal with super mutants? It might also coincide with another unique, Outcast. Why is it called Outcast? Maybe it was used by the Brotherhood Outcast. Another bit of content from the Creation Club, the Sentinel Control Companion System, has a quest line involving the Brotherhood Outcast in the Commonwealth. Maybe there's possible connections between these two pieces of content? Now, we know from the loading screen about the Enclave that this weapon was ultimately gotten rid of, because plasma guns were more effective. So, why would this weapon be in the Commonwealth? We find very little trace of the Enclave in the Commonwealth, at least in the base game. Several other Creation Club items deal with the Enclave, and semi-add them into the Commonwealth. The Hellfire Power Armor, the Heavy Incinerator, and the XO2 Power Armor were all added to the game with the Creation Club, and they're all Enclave items. During the XO2 Power Armor quest, you encounter Enclave remnants. I don't have this Creation Club plug-in yet, so I don't have footage of this. But I know a good deal about it from watching other YouTubers. The Enclave Remnant have no dialogue and basically just act as a group of raiders. There is a Poseidon energy plant in the Commonwealth, so perhaps this is where they were acquired from? During the quest line left by the Gunner's Sergeant, he mentions they raided a Poseidon energy lab and found it there. But he doesn't say where that lab is. We know that the Gunners do operate really all over the Commonwealth and several wastelands. I mean, they have access to vertibirds and even have items that are used by the NCR, like the anti-material rifle, so who knows where they got this weapon. I did check the Poseidon energy plant, and there was no solar cannon there. And this might just be an oversight, or maybe there was only one from the power plant, and that's the one acquired during the quest. But overall, the solar cannon is a very strange and very unique energy weapon that I really like. Too bad it's a Creation Club item, and we will most likely never see it again in a Fallout game. Okay, see everybody later. Hope you have a wonderful day, and if you like this video, subscribe for more. As always, there's also my main channel, Trooper Fofo, which I upload random gaming content on. Lots of Let's Plays of old games, as well as Fallout 76 LPs. Alright, see everybody later. Bye.